welcome to another episode of the Gentleman's Brotherhood. My name is Juan Sepulveda, and I thank you for spending a little bit of time with us as we move in this journey to explore what it means to be a man in today's world. And today I have the privilege of being joined by a friend, John Hulen. John, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me today, Juan. I appreciate it.
John is a business and personal coach. He is a public speaker and a podcaster, and he's an author. And he has been focusing his career into helping people achieve greater things and to be in communication with themselves and their growth. So today we're going to explore some really interesting things that I came across of his work. And I'm excited that you're here to join us in this conversation, John. Before we get deep into the topic of hand, can you give us a little glimpse into how this holiday was for you?
Sure. This was an interesting year for me. Just to give people a little bit of background about me, I am a single again dad. I have been divorced for a little over 10 years now. If you're watching this on video, you can see my kids behind me in pictures with me. Coincidentally, it's weird. I'm actually wearing the same sweater I was in those pictures. That was not on purpose, just so you know that. But my son, Ethan, is 20. He actually has his own podcast as well. And my girls, Andrea and Tatum, they live in Texas with their mom and stepdad. I'm in Kansas. I'm in Kansas City, but I'm on the Kansas side. And my son is away at school. He goes to Kansas State University in Manhattan, Kansas. So Christmas this year, I was by myself for the first time ever. And that was weird. I don't mind saying it. It was strange. I mean, I talked to my girls that day and I saw my son the day after Christmas for a little bit. But, again, he's 20, he has his own life, and he's doing a variety of things that 20-year-olds do. New Year's Eve was similar in that, I mean, my kids weren't here, so I wasn't doing anything with them. But most of my friends, even 10 years into a divorce, are still married. So, I mean, they have lives of their own and they're doing other things. So I spent a good portion of my day working on New Year's Eve into the evening till about 8 o'clock or so. And I just came home and I ate dinner and I just chilled and did my thing. So believe it or not, I worked on my podcast. So
No, I mean, I don't doubt it. I mean, it has been very different for a lot of people. Like our New Year's, for example, is one that we've shared with another family for, I want to say, close to a decade. And this was the first time that we didn't come together for New Year's. But it was still relaxing. It was still enjoyable.
Yeah.
It still was a moment for reflection as to the year that had gone by and that commitment to what we're going to make out of this new year. So, as part of what we want to make this new year, I want to discuss with you the F6 formula. Can you give us a little insight into what the F6 formula is about?
Absolutely happy to do that. The F6 formula came to me earlier this year, partly because I'm going to emphasize the word formula for just a minute. For any of you who are, especially for those who are in business for themselves, you will hear the word framework. You've heard it so many times, and honestly, I'm sick of hearing it. I was so tired of it. But I was trying to come up with my own framework, but I didn't want to call it that. And so formula hit me. So I had formula first. And then it was F6. Now I'm in the Midwest. And so we do have tornado season here. And there are different categories of tornadoes. Now F6 is the most destructive. Actually, the term that I use for it is not really destructive. It's devastating because all the Fs up through F5 are destructive. They just have different levels of that. F6 is different. The reason it's different is when it comes through, it leaves nothing in its path. It picks everything up and removes it. It knocks hills down, pulls trees out, removes grass from the ground. It is as if nothing was ever there. Roads are gone, bridges are gone, everything's gone. And when I started thinking about that and thinking about this, the F6 formula is the 6 areas of a man's life that he tends to struggle in, especially after he gets married. When I thought about that F6, I thought, that's exactly like a man's life if those 6 areas are not headed in the right direction. There is utter devastation.
Mm.
So, what can I do to help men get better in those 6 areas so that we take this thing and we turn it on its head and we have those 6 areas and they become something positive, something meaningful, something ways that we can lead by example.
That's excellent. And when you constructed this formula, did you decide to put it in a specific category in priority, or are
Hmm,
these just general categories that an individual should focus on?
that is an excellent question. Truthfully, when I mention them, I do them in alphabetical order just because it's easier for me to remember that way. The F6, just so anyone who listens, and I'll tell you what they are in just a minute, they all start with the letter F, so there is alliteration in there. Again, makes it easier to remember, but they're not in there's a certain level of priority to that. I would definitely say the first one is probably the biggest priority. And so, I mean, if you're okay with it, I'll go ahead and mention what they are now.
Please, by all means.
Okay. So the 6 areas are faith, fashion, fitness, food, friendship, and fun. Those are the 6 areas.
Hmm. I will wrote it now so that we can reference
Sure.
back to them. Faith, being the most important one. What place does faith, or what role does faith play in your life?
Oh gosh, in my life. Well, that is probably the most important thing in my life. Uh, I realize that not everybody who listens to this is in the same place that I am or that shares my beliefs, my thoughts on this. And I want you to know up front that is totally okay. You don't have to be
Mm.
exactly like me. My job is not to try and convince you of anything. My job is to tell you where I'm coming from, what I believe to be true, what makes a difference in my life. So, having said that, I happen to be a Christian. I am a Christ follower. Um, that's where my allegiance lies. That's where my faith is, and it isn't a part of my life. It is my life, and it permeates everything I do, on my personal side of my life and in my businesses, I should say.
Yeah, us entrepreneurs can't keep it to one
No,
business.
most of us know.
Then it requires a lot of faith
Oh, for
for us
sure,
to keep anyone up and running.
absolutely.
Uh, no, that's good to hear. And I do admire an individual who has something to stand
Mhm.
on. And just like you said, there are a lot of members of the Gentleman's Brotherhood who don't subscribe to any specific
Mhm.
religion. Some of them describe themselves as spiritual yet a
Okay,
religious, and you'll have some that are very rooted in their faith. So there's a great variety of men.
great.
So I do appreciate the fact that you proceed your discussion of faith with that disclaimer that although you have your own convictions and your own foundation upon which you
Mhm.
stand, you don't necessarily your approach is not to try to get people to follow that
Nope.
specific. But it's good when it comes to faith. This is such a personal kind of thing, and it's a lifelong pursuit for most people,
Oh yeah.
in which they're in a constant search for that spiritual transcendent connection. uh, so in relation to the F6 formula,
Mhm.
what is the approach in order for someone to solidify that category of their life?
Well, when I was doing some research on this, I came up with a lot. And one of the things that you have to understand about me is, and I come by this naturally, I am a researcher through and through. I research everything that I do. I get that from my mom. My mom is exactly the same way. And so I started digging deep and I started looking into different case studies about this sort of thing. And what I discovered is that the men who have faith is a central tenet to their lives. First and foremost, and I'm making this as simple as I can, not because people can't understand, because I'm doing it for me. And that is, you just live longer.
Yeah.
Okay. Just that alone, that's very pragmatic. You are just going to live longer. If you have something that is outside of you that is guiding you, you're going to live longer. That's the first thing. And it's a big one.
Hmm.
The next one is you tend to have less health issues when that is your focus. Again, you're not so focused on you. You're focused on other things and tangentially other people. That's one of the great things about having a faith that you follow is that you learn that this whole life, it isn't about you. It's
Hmm.
just not. It's about, it is about what you do with it. But when your focus is on other people and in serving other people, and in also in this case, we're talking about your God, essentially, taking the focus off of ourselves and putting it other places, it gives us the ability to take these blinders off that we have on that's only on us. And it's like, there is a world around us.
Hmm.
There are people around us who need us, who are hurting. And if you want to have any influence when it comes to your faith on another person, I will tell you, they don't care what you know until they know how much you care. And that's serving them without asking for anything in return.
Hmm.
That's true in life. That's true in business.
That's that's very good advice. It's having that outward focus where it doesn't mean that you neglect yourself, but it means
No, no,
that you
no.
prioritize the effort that you have to help other people.
Oh, absolutely.
That's
Absolutely. Yeah,
that's definitely
it's not
interesting.
an either or proposition,
Hmm.
meaning do I serve other people or do I take care of me? I mean, think about that for a minute. If you decide that all you're going to do is take care of other people and you neglect yourself, at some point things are going to start to break down.
Yeah,
If nothing else, it's just on your health. And like, if my health is a mess, how can I be effectively serving other people? I
yeah.
can't. It's not possible.
Hmm.
So we're doing these two things together.
Yeah, and having that, it's a great dichotomy. It's just to see the two aspects of it. If you have some people who perhaps the thought that comes to mind is when a a great spiritual leader that I've admired for many years is Wayne Dyer,
Mm-hmm.
and he had an expression where he said, "You can't get poor enough to help a poor person.
Hmm.
You can't get sick enough to be of help to a sick individual." So, in other words, part of your focus in becoming wealthier or becoming healthier, and I think this is an expression that he attributes to someone else. I just remember him saying it, but he
Mm-hmm.
said, if you neglect your own financial stability, how much help can you be to the financial stability of other people? Not only
Right.
do you not have a first-hand experience as to how to get someone out of financial trouble,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't even have the option of giving them anything or
Right.
investing in their success.
Absolutely.
But I love that, the idea that focusing on the faith first also energizes the other aspects. So if we go to the next one,
Hmm.
which seems like a very distant one from the first,
Yeah, yeah, it does. It
but
does.
it's in alphabetical order, so I
It
understand
is.
that. But just so that for the sake of moving through them in the
Okay.
respective order. So fashion,
Mhm.
how does a man's fashion suffer, especially after
Oh
marriage?
my goodness. Okay. Well, let me just tell you. And it doesn't take long either. Now, I realize that we are recording in early January 2021. So we are still in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. But if anybody can remember back to a time like a year ago before all this happened, when you actually could meet in large groups, man, I can tell you with about 95% accuracy, looking at a group of people, specifically watching the men, I can tell you which men are married and which ones aren't based solely on what they're wearing.
Got it. Got it.
Because guys, we give up
Huh.
after a while. We do. It's real obvious, and it's sad is what it is, truthfully. It's sad. And it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. And so um what you wear is a reflection of how you feel about you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying that, flashier means that you're a better person than someone who's a little more subtle in the things that they wear. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is if you're going, if you decide to go out on a date, and this is an entirely different subject, the whole date
Oh,
night
that's, yeah,
with your
I completely
spouse.
understand.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I've got a whole podcast on that. So yeah. But if you're on this date and what you choose to wear is like, you know, an old shirt, and a pair of ripped up jeans, not the really expensive ripped up jeans. I'm just talking
Mhm.
about ones that just worn out.
The accidentally ripped ones.
Exactly. And you're wearing old tennis shoes. What does that message convey? I mean, first of all, what does that convey to your spouse?
Mm-hmm.
Look how important you are, honey. I
Mm-hmm.
wore my worst stuff. I mean, seriously, what it says is I gave up. That to me, that's what fashion says about us. It either says, I'm trying, I'm working at it. I don't know fashion, but I'd like to, or I'm done. I gave up. And that was me, man. For years. It was like that. And I finally began to figure it out. I'm not perfect at it. I mean, I kind of know what my style is now. That's why I recommend the guys all the time. You have got to get in touch with a stylist of your own to
Mm-hmm.
help you. Seriously, because there's plenty of people out there who are really good. My good friend Rain Parvis, she's based out of LA. I love Rain. She's really good at what she does. And the great thing is she can help guys, and you don't have to be in LA for her to help you. She can actually do a closet audit for you. You just walk through with your phone into the closet. She can tell you what to get rid of, what to keep, and then she can design outfits for you. She has a relationship, a partnership with Nordstrom, and she can actually pick out outfits for you. You can order it directly from Nordstrom and have it delivered to you.
That's great.
Yeah, yeah.
That's great,
Or,
especially when people, when, going back to that comfort zone,
mm-hmm.
individuals tend to fall into these complacent pockets of their
Oh, they do.
style, and
Mm-hmm.
they go to the usual.
Uh-huh.
And you could, most of the listeners will identify with this. You go through your closet and you have the first 10% of your closet, that's what you wear, all that's it, all of that,
Yeah.
and you rotate through that, and rarely do you go to the back of the closet and pull something out because you're waiting to lose those 20 pounds. You never will.
That's true. In fact, I actually have kind of a rule of thumb that I go by. Twice a year, I go through my closet. And if there's something I haven't worn in a year, I donate it.
Yep.
That's just something. Now I do it in the off season. So like for me, I'm in winter now, so I go through summer stuff.
Okay.
And then as it starts to warm up, I will go through winter things. It just
Which financially, that's a better move because you'll find better deals for replacement at those times.
yes, generally you will. So
Nice.
it's weird because like so we're in winter now. As spring starts to roll around, don't buy summer stuff, buy winter stuff, because that's when people are trying to, clearance items and get rid of them and that sort of thing. That's the perfect time to do it. So do it just as the season's ending. It's kind of like if when you buy now is a perfect time to buy like Christmas decorations. Perfect time to buy them because they're so cheap. Like 3 years ago, I bought my Christmas tree. It was like a $500 tree I got for $25.
That's the move.
That's what I'm saying.
That's the move. When you mention the going through the closet and getting rid of stuff, it reminds me of Marie Kondo. Are you
Mm,
familiar with her work?
I am.
Yeah, she has her book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying. And that book, I I don't know how I got into it,
Mhm.
but it was so uh influential in how I maintain my closet and my drawers. Like, as a matter of fact, I'm due for another one of those purging sessions.
Ah,
But
okay.
but she's very effective in explaining how to methodically go through everything you own and getting rid of that excess baggage, that perhaps is not contributing to your style. It's cluttering what you have. It's
Mm,
preventing you from really enjoying what you could.
yep. Here's a good rule of thumb, man. Let me give this to you. This is an easy one. My friend Rain, who I just mentioned, told me about this because we are notorious. We love t-shirts. Okay. We just do as men. Now, the kind that t-shirts that you wear out either by themselves or under something else, no print. T-shirts with no print. Okay. Let me also say, if you choose to go V-neck on a t-shirt, no hair. Come on. That's gross. It just is. So, but what I have done, well, actually, what I'm about to do is to take a bunch of old t-shirts of mine that I've collected over the years that I don't wear anymore. I actually have a friend who's going to make them into a quilt for me. So he's going to cut them out and keep the print part on there. So I have the nostalgia of the shirt, but I don't have the clutter of the shirts.
Nice. Yeah, we were talking about that. My wife and I, we just went through our attic and we were purging a lot of old stuff, and we had some of our children's clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And we considered doing that, doing some sort of throw or quilt
Yeah.
that incorporated their onesies and all that good
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
Now, one of the categories here that is related to fashion that could help you get back into some of those neglected pieces that are
Uh-huh.
towards the back of your closet
Yep.
is fitness.
Yep. That's one. Mm-hmm. For sure.
Can you, especially now, it's a good time for us to be talking about this because it's the beginning of the year.
Right.
Most people get excited about establishing some new habits and healthier behaviors.
Yes.
What does the F6 formula tell us about fitness?
Well, first of all, it tells us men, again, it doesn't take very long. For those of you who went to college, you've heard of the freshman 15. Well, most men gain 15 to 20 pounds in the first year that they're married.
Mm.
Most men do. I was guilty of that. I did. Um, I gained it and lost it, and then later gained it back. And there were a lot of reasons why that happened, um, but yeah, that happens because you start to get into a groove. You start to figure out doing your work thing, and then you got your home thing, and you're trying to figure all that out. And so when it comes to fitness, sometimes that's a dirty word for guys because they feel like, oh, I got to do the gym membership. But since we're in a pandemic, can I do a gym membership? Can I not? And first of all, I'm gonna say, no, you don't have to. You can do every single thing you need to do at home, believe it or not, with virtually no equipment whatsoever. There are some things I would suggest, however, with that. A good set of resistance bands, those things are amazing and they work anywhere.
Yep.
Resistance bands are amazing. Um, just to give you an example, some of you may or may not know who I'm about to reference. He was a football player. Actually, he won the Heisman Trophy. Herschel Walker is his name. If you ever saw him play, and if you ever saw him without pads on, the dude was ripped. Never lifted a weight in his life.
Look at that.
Sit ups and push ups, pull ups, man. That's all that guy did. And then as he became a pro, he started adding things like ballet, yoga, stretching, that sort of thing. Amazing. When he was done with his NFL career, he actually was an MMA fighter for a while.
Look at that.
And he was good too. Actually, if you see him today, the dude is still ripped. He is still ripped.
That's good. Those are habits that, especially when you spend a lifetime dedicated to your body, it pays dividends for
It
many
does.
years after. Once you're in your advanced years.
Man, it helps with so many things. I mean, it helps with clear thinking in your brain, especially if you're like having a conundrum going on and you don't know what you're supposed to do. Man, I would say just get physical. Seriously. I mean, if that means that you need to order yourself, if you like the idea of boxing and you want to do something like that, get a heavy bag, put it in your basement, just beat the crap out of it. I mean, that can help. Seriously. Again, the stretching and stuff. And, I actually know several trainers out there who are virtual trainers now, who train entrepreneurs all the time. to try and help them. And they do it in a variety of ways. They have pre-recorded things that you can watch, or they actually do one-on-one coaching as well to help you. So if they're not in your area, or you're not comfortable going out or having someone come to your home, you can do it over your computer, over your television, that sort of thing.
Mm.
So there are ways to do it. Absolutely.
That's good. And I think of one of the resistance that I hear often is, well, I'm not a sportsman. I'm not an athlete. I can't just jump in and start doing this or doing the P90X or whatever its equivalent is today. I can't
And you
start doing,
shouldn't.
most people, they start that, and after a while it's like, okay, this is just too much for me, and they quit altogether.
Right, because it's not achievable.
Mm,
It's not. That's you're not. It's like hmm, it's like being a kindergartner and expecting to be able to do calculus.
mm,
You haven't built the foundation, the layer upon layer to get to the point where you can do that. So you might be able to do it the first day, possibly two, but you will burn out quick because it's not sustainable yet.
mhm,
It's not sustainable yet. So it's taking what is the next right step for me. So that works for everything, but we're talking specifically about fitness. And for you, for those of you who are listening or watching right now, you might not have done. I mean, it has been years since you've done something. First of all, I want you to know I'm not shaming you. I'm not. There's no shame. You're admitting that. You know you need to get better. You want to do it for you first, which you should. You want to do it for your family second, which is great. So now that you've decided that that's something you're going to do, take the next best step. And that may be doing a few push-ups and a few sit-ups, and that's all you can do. But guess what? That's more than you did yesterday. That's the key.
mhm.
You did more. And even if you do the same amount for a week, that's more than you did the week before. So that's why I tell people all the time when it comes to these things, it's not about how many you do. It's about doing it consistently and then starting to add, to it. So the next week, just add one more of each. Again, doesn't seem like a lot. They're baby steps. When you start putting them in front of each other for a while, after a while, you look behind, it's like, wow, look how far I came. It didn't feel like it, but I'm really a lot further along. Look at this. I can do 50 push-ups and 50 setups without stopping. Oh my gosh, I've never been able to do that. That's huge.
Yeah, that feels amazing. So I
It
hear.
does.
No, but it's the truth. It's having those incremental and yet sustainable incorporations into your behavior.
Absolutely. And a great thing that you can do with some of these, especially if you're getting into it, like it hasn't been a while or you've never really done it. If you have kids, man, involve them. First of all,
Yeah.
they will love it. They
Mhm,
will love doing that with you. And this is a key word, but brothers, they will keep you accountable.
mhm.
It's like, come on, dad, it's time to work out. Oh, I don't want to work out. Dad, you
Don't
said you need to do it. You need to do it. Let's go. Remember, you told me it's not about how much you do, it's about doing it. So let's do it.
yeah.
And they will. I promise you they will.
Yeah, some of the kids aren't as gentle as that example.
Uh,
But come on, slacker.
that's right. That's right. Well,
No, but
and that gets into a whole different kind of story about
yeah.
parenting, what you allow your kids to say to you. But yes.
No, but it's the important thing is having those incremental changes that you can sustain over a long period of time.
Yes.
And something else that you can also make small adjustments that will pay
Hmm.
dividends in the end is the F6 category of food.
Oh gosh, that's huge. In fact, um, gentlemen, for those of you who are listening, I really wouldn't tackle the area of fashion until we start to get a handle on food first, then fitness. Truthfully, um, because honestly, all of that starts with what goes in your mouth or doesn't go in your mouth. It's huge,
Mhm.
absolutely huge. Um, I have a regular contributor to my podcast. Her name's Mia Arancio, and she is a nurse, but she is also a health coach and mindset coach. One of the big things she talks about is about detox. It's a huge topic that she talks about and how important that is to do. And then once you get through a detox, then you can start taking in the things that you need to be taking in food wise, and it can start doing even more benefit to your body. It's amazing. So yeah, um, I'm not saying that everybody will eat like I do. It was a process for me. I didn't start overnight eating healthy. It did not happen. It took a long time for me to get there. But now I do eat in a much more healthy way. First of all, I don't really eat fast food of any kind. And if I were to go to one, which again is rare, I eat like a salad from there. Truthfully, that's what I do. I'll eat a salad from there, if at all, or I'll just wait till I get home. But like when you start to change the things that you eat, your body starts to adjust to those things. Just to give you an example, one of my kids, this one right here, Tatum, she is uh, she doesn't have celiac disease, but she is gluten intolerant. So it bothers her, but not excessively. So I cut out gluten from my diet and subsequently our diet years ago. Well, after I had done that, it had been a few months. I went to a friend's house who was having a cookout. And you're talking to people and stuff, and they're handing you food. So it's like, thank you. I'm still talking to hand me the plate. I took a bite of a burger. Well, there was a bun on the burger. I kid you not. I took a bite and I swallowed, and inside of 5 seconds, I knew something was wrong.
Oh boy.
My stomach was churning and hurting. Oh my! And I looked down and like, oh crap! I ate part of the bun. So I took the bun off. I drank like a gallon of water to try and help mitigate what was going on with my body. Fortunately, I was able to figure that out and I was okay. But that's how quickly it can happen for you when you start to make those changes. There's other things. For instance, sweets.
Mm-hmm.
I do not have a sweet tooth anymore. I can't eat candy bars. I can't eat ice cream. I can't eat any of that stuff. Not a one. It is way too sweet for me. It would probably make me throw up if I did.
And how did you start that? Because if you had that sweet tooth at one point, how were you able
Mhm.
to wane off of it?
That also is an excellent question. It's different for everybody. I'll tell you what worked for me. I had some friends years ago who were into this thing called Juice Plus. I don't know if you're familiar with what that is, but essentially, Juice Plus is 18 fruits and vegetables in capsule form. You
Okay.
take two of them, two of the veggie one, two of the fruit one a day. And they told me it would take 6 or 7 months before I'd really start to see a change. And that was the truth, man. I was taking these things. I was still drinking soda and stuff. That my same one, my youngest, it was around her birthday, the year that the original Despicable Me movie came out. We went to the movie theater and I'm like, okay, babe, this is for your birthday. What do you want? She goes, well, I want to get a cherry limeade. It's like, oh, so you want a cherry limeade, like with the kid thing that you can get, the little popcorn, the little candy and that sort of thing. She goes, no, I want the daddy size. So she
Oof.
wanted, the gigantic one. Oh, and of course she says to share with you. I'm like, okay. So I get the big one. So I make a cherry limeade. I take it over. I pay for it. We sit down. I take a sip of it. And I mean a sip. At first, I thought there was no carbonation in it because it was so sweet to me. Well, I saw the bubbles. I'm like, okay, that's not it. It reminded me when I was a kid, my parents used fructose. I don't know if you're familiar with what fructose is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a for those of you who don't know, it is a clear liquid that is, it is sugar essentially,
Mm-hmm.
and they would pour that in their coffees. And I remember how really super super sweet that was. When I drank that, that's what it made me think of.
Wow.
And so I immediately stopped. It's like, okay, I'm done. And I said, here, that's yours. I'm not going to drink it anymore. And of course, she was very young at the time. And so we spent 2/3 of the movie going into the bathroom and coming back out because she has a bladder this big, or did at that time. So that's how it started for me. And my kids, at least for a while, they liked testing me on that, on the sweet things, because apparently I make this very unique face. If I eat something sweet, I make this. I can't fake it. I have to actually have it in my mouth for that to happen. But occasionally it's like, here, try this, Dad. See if you still don't like sweets. Okay. I try. It's like, ugh, it's horrible. I can't do it without the sweets. But anyhow, that's how it started.
Yeah, so you start getting your body away from it enough that when you're then reintroduced to it, you realize how un uh how do you call that? Like how undesirable it really is.
Right. I mean, essentially, my body tells me right away, no,
That's good.
no, no, no. You don't want this. Either that or I'm going to do something you don't like as a result of you trying.
So think about it twice before you.
That's right. That's right.
All right, so moving on to the next one, the next category of F6, we have friendships.
Mhm.
How would you say that friendships are affected, especially in a man's life after he's married?
What tends to happen for most men after they get married is they tend to isolate. They isolate in a couple of areas. They tend to isolate because of work, and they tend to isolate at home. They tend to, when they're done at work, they want to be home and that's it. They don't want to be around other people. And so subsequently, friendships fall by the wayside. And so the only people you're really hanging around generally are your family, or if your kids start to get a little bit older and they're into certain activities, you are technically around other people, but you tend not to want to be there hanging around the other people. So you tend to be more we tend to be more standoffish and send out a message like, just stay away. I just,
Yeah.
no.
And that example, just to be clear, that you're talking about if when your kids are involved in like organized sports or different things, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, but it could be anything that they're involved
Okay.
in. It doesn't have to be sports. It could be, if they're into piano or if they're into taekwondo or
Okay.
whatever it is, any place where you have to take a child and you got to sit and wait.
Okay, yeah, that's what I meant. Because for a moment there, it sounded almost like, here I'm doing something with my kid that I just don't want to do with him. But no, you're
Oh,
talking
no, no,
about
no, no.
like taking them to go do some sort of activity,
Yes, yes,
and
yes.
by consequence, you're having to interact with other adults that are not necessarily your friends.
That's true. That's true.
Gotcha.
And what ends up happening for us as men, it strips away something that's essential to our health, really. Yes, our physical health, but our mental health, our emotional health, and to a certain extent, our spiritual health, about having those connections with other people, because I believe we are designed to be in relationship with other people.
Mhm.
And when we're not, that is bad. And I don't mind saying this. We are in the midst of a mental health crisis right now
Yep.
because of this stupid lockdown mentality. And I realize I'm about to make some people upset when I say that, and that's okay. I don't mind. I've never been afraid of making people upset. But having connections with people and staying connected with them is vitally important to our state of well-being. We have to do that.
Mhm.
And so men after they get married already tend to not do that. Pandemics did not make that better.
Yeah.
Just didn't. I mean, just exacerbated that tremendously. I mean, it's extremely unfortunate, but I have seen so many marriages fall apart during this pandemic because of this,
Wow.
because men don't have a real good handle on how to have those healthy, vibrant relationships at home first and then with other people. So whatever issues there were before the pandemic, now that everybody's crammed together all the time, it's just exploding.
Mhm. Yeah, and men need those interactions outside of the family.
Agreed.
That is
Agreed.
that is very important.
Not
That,
in replacement of the others.
of course, of
That's
course.
important because a lot of guys do that.
Yeah, that's true. And it doesn't have, there's a lot in there that I wanted to touch on. For example, with the when you mentioned the lockdown mentality,
Mhm.
One thing that I have seen that has been detrimental is that a lot of people haven't necessarily capitalized on the benefits that they have with technology. For example,
True.
we have these phones, and we have. I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, I made sure to buy some special cables so that I could connect my laptop to my big screen TV, because I wanted to
Mm,
have as close as possible a a connection with the people that were distant. See,
mm.
I have family in Puerto Rico, and
Okay.
I have family, basically friends and family all over the world. And for example, going on a Skype video call or a Zoom call like you and I are doing,
Mhm.
we could still have a very healthy discussion. We could spend enough time decompressing and sharing our difficulties and inspiring each other. But what I've seen, a lot of people having that as an alternative instead went deep into the recesses of social media,
Mm.
or video games, or
Mm.
just TV and movie. So the having the opportunity to still connect with other people in a meaningful way, something that people from the 1918 pandemic didn't
Mm.
have access to.
Right.
These were people that they would have to write a letter perhaps and
Yeah.
wait for a response for however long it took.
True.
But I wanted to remind people, even at this tail end, hopefully, of this pandemic, is not too late.
Right.
Try to gauge, okay, how much time I'm spending on TikTok or Instagram or whatever
Mhm.
different platform there is, where I'm being entertained, but I'm not building a connection with anybody.
Right.
See, could you take some of that time and allocate it into something more fruitful, like the building of a relationship, or the
Yes.
the
Amen.
mending
Yes.
of a relationship? So hopefully some of the gentlemen that listen to this uh, take that into consideration.
And let me offer
Yeah,
this, if you don't mind, Juan,
please.
for gentlemen, and I'm sure there are ladies who listen to the
Mhm,
podcast
mhm.
or watch the podcast. If you know this is something you need to do, but you're not sure how to start, please reach out. I mean, talk to Juan. I am available. Please reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help with that. I do that all the time. That is part and parcel to who I am and what I'm about. I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve Juan and his tribe, which you all are. So, whatever I can do to help, please just let me know.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And many times people have that reluctance to ask for help, and
Yes.
reluctance to seek
Yes.
for advice. I echo what you say. Like, I really don't mind if you have any questions. How can we get this done? How can we establish this? My friends over at Heroes Mastermind,
Mm.
one thing they've done, which I admire, and I've considered to join them one night, is that they're having a game night,
Oh,
a,
yeah.
a guys game night, and they'll
Very
all
nice.
connect through video, and they'll
Mhm.
just do like a board game or like some trivia or something like that.
Okay.
And you imagine, when you do that in person, it's very enjoyable.
Yeah, it
You
is.
get to laugh with your friends, you get to know them a little bit better, you get to have this much fun, which I think it's a good segue for the last category in the FC6 Foundation. I mean,
Hmm.
formula, which is fun.
Yeah.
Now, tell me, how does that look in the formula as you conceived it?
Well, the reason I put that in there is because what it ties in more with the guy's relationship with his spouse. What ends up happening many times. Now, I don't know if it's like this for you, Juan, but I can say when I was married, if we had date night. So, gentlemen, let me just tell you now. I'm gonna jump ahead to a part and then I'm gonna come back. Date night. Men, you own this now. No more excuses. You own it. Now, as a couple, you need to know what works for you. You need to know what works for your schedule. If you have kids, what works with your kids, what works for your finances, all that sort of thing. So I'm not going to give you a hard and fast rule of how often to do it. But whatever you decide, It is in stone. It doesn't move. You move everything else around that. That's how important it is for your relationship. I mean, this is huge.
Yeah.
If I had done this, I I won't say I wouldn't be divorced, but I might not be. I mean, that's how important it is.
Mm.
And when I tell you, gentlemen, that you own it, this is what I mean. You're going to figure out what to do. You're going to figure out where to go. You're going to make sure the children, if you have them, are properly taken care of. That's key. That doesn't mean you leave the kids alone at home and you spread newspaper and you have a water bowl, a food bowl, and an empty bowl. That is not properly taken care of. The
Yeah.
children are properly taken care of. And when you are out doing whatever it is that you do, you don't talk about finances. You don't talk about the kids. You don't talk about your day. The things you talk about are what's going on with your spouse? What's important to your spouse? What are his or her hopes and dreams? You talk about the same thing for you, your hopes and dreams. What are those collectively as a couple? What do you want to see happen in the next year, in the next 5 years, next 10 years? What trajectory are you guys on? That's what's important. You talk about those things. Now, I already know, because I was one of them, I'm going to have pushback from some of the men out there. It's like, well, when we were dating, she didn't know how much I spent on the dates and they were really expensive. And now we're married and we have kids and stuff. Okay, first of all, your spouse is not stupid. Your spouse, but for those of you where, and I do know that money is an issue sometimes. I honestly do know that. So, two examples for you: free and $1. Okay, free date and $1 date. Here you go, man. Your free date. Go for a walk. I'm not talking about a workout kind of walk. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a leisurely walk in your neighborhood, maybe to a park that's close by, or it could be just around the block several times, whatever it is, to leisurely walk. Again, you're talking about those same things that I just mentioned. That cost you nothing. The dollar one. Get in the car, go to McDonald's, buy $1 soft serve cone and share it. And if you can't go into McDonald's where you are, you go through the drive-thru, you take it in the car. It's a little risky to eat it in the car. I understand that. You could do that. If it's too cold where you are, you'll figure it out. But $1 cone,
Yeah.
you can do that.
No,
You
that's a good that's a good thing. And I'm glad you mentioned the component of being mindful of the discussions that you're having. Of course,
Yes,
you want this to
huge.
be like a date.
Yes.
And if you've forgotten how that looks, just even that might be the first conversation. Hey,
Mhm.
tonight we're going to talk about our early dates. Let's see how many of them we can remember and which ones
Yeah,
are our favorite. And perhaps you can recreate some of those.
absolutely. I've got another one for you guys. Now, this one, it does take a little bit of money to do this one, not a lot, to do a picnic. Okay. Now, for those of you who don't have your own picnic basket, believe it or not, I found this particular one on Amazon. It's a backpack with all the stuff you need for a picnic. So the blanket, it's a blanket on one side and it's like plastic on the bottom. So plastic goes to the ground and you have the soft part to sit on. It's rolled up on the bottom side of the backpack. Inside, it's got all the forks and knives and spoons and cups. And there's also a spot in there where you can keep hot food hot or cold food cold inside of it as well. I mean, you can just carry it like this. It's like $30. But even if you already have something or you don't want to do something that elaborate, get a friend to help you. If in your local area, if there's a park close by, have a friend get everything dropped off there. When you're planning the menu, men, it is critically important that you include food and drink that your spouse likes, not just that you like. That's important. If you don't know what that is, we need to have a different discussion,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
completely different discussion. But do that. I mean, picnics, oh my gosh, they are so much fun. They can be
Yeah.
so romantic. Oh my gosh. So yes.
That's true. That's so good. My wife, she gave me a gift. I want to say it was either for my birthday or our anniversary, one of the two.
Mhm.
this past year, and it was a book
Mm.
about dates.
Yeah.
And the book itself is, it's like these, like these kinds of journals that you fill out stuff,
Mhm.
but in this one it's scratch off. So
Oh, okay.
you don't know what's written in it. It just had these little codes that tell you, okay, this one is inexpensive, or this one requires a little bit more investment.
Okay.
One has a symbol that says this one requires you to get for the kids to be babysat, or
Okay.
it has all these symbols, and then you just have to pick one of the pages, whichever one you want.
Nice.
And once you decide, the commitment in the book is like, once you pick a page, whatever's under that scratch off,
Mhm.
that's your prize. That's what you're gonna do. That's your date,
Nice.
right?
Okay.
So I thought it was,
I
that
like
was
that.
very interesting. So whenever, we try to schedule it for Friday nights, but because of
Okay.
the pandemic, we're not going out, so we
Mhm.
can only pick the ones that you don't have to go out, and
Oh,
you can just scratch it off, and it will say something like that. Have a picnic in your backyard, throw a
yeah.
towel, whatever, play this music or do the other.
Mhm.
So I think that'll be especially for the couples out there that may not have a lot of ideas initially.
Mhm.
Something like this will be a good tool to give you a few choices to pick from.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have a book that I recommend all the time. It's called 52 Dates.
Ah, no, look at
There's a
that.
lot of great ideas in it, and it's a relatively small book. It's very inexpensive. It's easy to find them used everywhere. So,
That sounds good.
oh yeah.
Excellent. Well, John, I want to be respectful of your time. I think that this is uh, a good taste of what the F6 formula is all about. If and for the listeners, if this is something that you found interesting, that you would like to learn a little bit more of, I encourage you to follow John. You can find him in pretty much all social media outlets. I am connected with him through Instagram, so I can attest to the quality of the content that he shares there. Just go to John Hulen, so at John Hulen, that's Hulen, and you can connect with him. If people have any questions, they can DM you through there as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, anybody who DMs me, I respond to. I respond
Excellent.
to all DMs. So,
Very good, John. I think that this formula is very valuable. I appreciate you coming with it and sharing with the Gentleman's Brotherhood.
oh, it was my pleasure to do that, Juan. Absolutely my pleasure.
Thank you very much. And so out there, if for the listeners, this is the way for you to connect with him. Find him in your favorite social media network, and if you like this conversation, please do us a favor and share it with someone who may benefit from it. Do you know another man who is married, who for whom you want a best experience in their marriage?
Mm.
This is a great episode for you to share with them. So John, once again, thank you so very much for joining me.
Thank you, Juan.
All right. So, as always, thank you so much for listening. And until next time, I wish you courage, courtesy, and in this case, the F6 formula. Take care.